Okay, I wanted to talk a little bit about the Ethernet connection and compare it to the serial cable connection, because in talking to a few of you, I think some of you are a little confused about the basic differences. So, for example, on the serial cable connection to, and I'll use the net burner here as our example. You know, on the serial cable, we have some terminal program that opens up a serial port on our computer side. Okay, most of us have been using MTTY, but there are other terminal programs that are available. PuTTY is a common one that you can use for SSH, but it also supports serial port connections. And then on the other side, we have our own application that we've written. Um, the operating system automatically opens up standard input and standard output, and they are redirected for us to the serial port. So we can read from file descriptor 0 that is mapped to the serial port connection on the net burner, and write to a file descriptor 1 that is mapped to again the serial cable and is sent to MTTY. So for the serial connection, generally like this, it's a direct connection between two applications. Now for the Ethernet cable, although it looks similar, because of the networking software that runs on the Ethernet side, you've got an operating system component here, okay, that allows multiple tasks to share the Ethernet cable, and the way that's done is by different port numbers. Okay. Okay. So every interface has an IP address. 192.168.76.2. I forgot what number we actually use for our net burner, but let's say this is the IP address of this particular interface. So this would correspond to a networking card. But then this portion of the operating system, when it receives data off of the Ethernet cable, that data has in the header a destination port number. Okay, so for example, I think 21 is Telnet, 22 is SSH, 80 is a web server. So this is HTTP. We've been using port 10,000 in our applications, and you can have a number of these ports. So the data that's sent across from the computer, and again on the computer side running networking, it has the same thing. There's an operating system component that connects certain clients that are associated with certain port numbers. Okay. So actually the packets contain two port numbers. They contain, let's say we're talking about IP traffic, internet traffic going in this direction from the computer to the net burner. So it's going to have the IP address, so that it goes across this particular connection. So when we set up our networking, our computer knows that this particular address is tied to our cable. And similarly, this has an address on the same 76.1 on the same network, but we can attach multiple applications, multiple reader applications, and these are all going to be associated with different port numbers. 1020, typically maybe randomly assigned, 13,001, 25,036, all associated with different applications, client applications. It could be a single task that uses all three of these ports. So on the client side, again, typically what we do is we connect to an IP address and then to a particular port number. Both of those are essential. Okay, so this particular application may connect to this IP address and this and port 21. Okay, and where this one may try to make a connection to the same port number. These are listening port numbers. Okay, but let's pretend they're actual port numbers used for communication would connect to this port number. Now, a couple things here. We have to have a task listening on these ports, or the connection will just be refused. Okay, so if we don't have a task running on our net burner, and we have to write this. Okay, so if we don't write something, if we don't write an application that listens on port 80, the net burner is not going to serve up web pages. Okay, now we've been keeping things fairly simple in this intro to networking and writing applications that listen on a particular port, and then once a connection comes in, they may use select then to listen on a connection port at that point. So our servers listen on one port, but once a connection is made, we actually on the net burner communicate with the client using a separate port, so we can go back and listen for more connections on this. But an Ethernet connection really consists of the two IP addresses and then the two port numbers, the destination port and the source port. And all that information is embedded in the packet that's sent across. So on this side, our server knows to what client application to communicate back with, because it's got the source IP and the source port number. So it can form a packet or a response that's addressed back to that IP address and that port number. So we've got a one-to-one connection between client processes here listening on these ports, and then server processes here listening on these ports. Now again, you could have one application that's monitoring all of these different ports. It can do that via a polling method using select, or it could be an application that spawns off multiple tasks, each task then listening on a particular port number. But the big difference here between Ethernet and the standard serial connection is the serial connection is typically used to connect just two applications, one running on one side and another running on the other, whereas the Ethernet cable can be used to tie multiple client applications to multiple server applications. So there seemed to be a little confusion about that. In particular, unless you listen on port 80 in your application, you're not automatically going to have a web server running. We looked at that one net burner, the demo application that had supported FTP, also supported serving web pages. Let's see, what else did it have? I think that was it. Only those two listened on the FTP port, and then also listened on the web server. But we could interact with the web server to read the switches and then also turn on the LEDs. But our application that we've been writing only listens on one port number. Again, we've been then actually for each client connection, we've been writing these multi-client servers now that would then use, after we get a connection here, would then use other ports for the server to listen on with other port numbers to establish connections to our individual clients.